This video is for the guy that wants to preserve his deer antlers but doesn't want to spend $400 to have it mounted by a taxidermist. They have kits that places like Cabela's sells to mount horns, but they're pretty funky looking, and this gives you a good professional look, and it really doesn't cost hardly anything to do it. Process starts by getting all the flesh, hair, everything cleaned off the skull, and you leave just enough skull to give you a point to attach to your wooden base here. And then you can build up this area right in here with styrofoam and then work it down with a file to prepare it to cover with the paper mache. The paper mache I use can be purchased at the craft store. They have two different kinds. This has kind of a white color. This has kind of a gray color. I prefer this. It's a little coarser. It's a little easier to work with. Either will work, but I prefer the gray, and that's what you see on this set of horns here. You trowel it on, and the best tool to trowel it on with is a sculpting knife, but you could use anything. But you can spread it. It takes 2 or 3 layers and bring it down to where it blends with the wood, and then after it's good and dry you can sand and file it down, and it's real easy to work with, and it gives a good base, nice shape for when you put the leather on. I have a template that I've made to cut out the leather, but you don't have to have this. You can just use the leather and wrap it around. Get a feel for how big you need to cut it so you have plenty to work with on the back side. And then cut it out. It's better to be a little oversized than undersized. You can get the leather from Tandy Leather. I've tried using cloth, and you can use cloth, but whatever you choose to use, it needs to be flexible enough that you can kind of stretch it, because you've got some compound curves that you have to get around, and you have to get around that wood block on the back side. I've tried using naugahyde. It doesn't work too well. It's just not stretchy enough. Cutting in here be the point where it wraps around the horn on each side. Alright, we'll be cutting now. Okay, this is when the elasticity of the leather is real nice. You just kind of gotta find a midway point between your two last staples. Pinch and pull. Move the other side and do essentially the same thing. If you don't get all the wrinkles out, the world won't come to an end. We're getting there. Then I like to take a razor blade and trim off some of this extra leather so it lays on the plaque a little flatter. Also like to take a hammer whack down your staples to make sure they're all the way in the wood, again just so it lays on the plaque better. Next thing we're going to do is put on this leather that covers up this raw edge right there at the base of the horn. And what we want to do, and I've already done it on one side, is install, nail in a little brad. And you want to pick up the leather right there at the corner where you cut it. Hopefully you can see that right there. We got one on each side, and you want to leave it sticking up like that because we're going to loop the leather around it, wrap it around, and then CA it, super glue it in place. I just use, it's like leather boot lacing. Again, you could buy it at the craft store. For a small horn like this, 16 inches is more than enough. Find the midpoint on your lace. Put it around the nail. Too much junk in the way. And then just twist it. Whatever looks nice. Wrap it around. Poke it down in. Bring it around to the nail. Then I like to try to push it in behind the nail just so they're making good contact there. Then take your CA and just kind of glue it right to the nail. The leather will soak it up real well. And then if you've got activator, give it a little shot. Take a pair of dikes. Should end up looking like that. Just about done. Now I make my own plaques. Just a piece of pine, but I have woodworking tools. If you got a buddy that can saw out a plaque for you, you could put your horns just on a rectangular piece of wood. It doesn't really make any difference, but it does. A plaque does give it a nice finished look. And then it's just a matter drilling a couple of holes in the back, screwing through into that piece of pine on the back side of the horns, which I think you can do without any instructions. And that's what you end up with. Good way to show off your horns when you don't want to spend $400 for a full mount. Great way to show off your kids' horns when they see Daddy has a big nice buck on the wall and they'd like to have their horns hanging up there too. So good luck. I'm sure you can do it.